This is UBL TV. This is your host, Kenneth Thompson. This is Casual Conversations. And today we have a special guest all the way from California. I'd like him to introduce himself and tell us his story.
Well, my name is Jim Campanis Jr. I have to go by Junior now because I wrote a book, and it was like an accident. I used to play professional baseball. My dad played professional baseball, Jimmy Campanis Sr., and then my grandfather played professional baseball, was a major leaguer for the Dodgers, and also the general manager of the Dodgers. And I had quite a few stories of our three generations growing up, and I would tell my friends around a beer sometimes, and they were like, man, you got to write that stuff down. And before I knew it, I have 175 stories. A publisher found me. He liked 100 of them that fit this format that he had in mind for a flow thing, and it hit #1 on Amazon on Father's Day weekend. Like pretty amazing. So I do book tours. I do presentations for the book. The book has led to other things that are baseball related, including going back to doing professional instruction. So that's kind of my story. I also have like day jobs and other things that I do, for to keep the lights on. But baseball is ultimately my life, and I was born into baseball, and that's the name of the book, Born into Baseball.
Okay, like I said, I was going to ask you a question, and I'm going to say it now. Show and tell. Yes. I did my research. Yeah. Show and tell.
All right. So this is, unfortunately, many people remember my name because of things my grandfather said on Nightline that were construed as racist, and it was such a shock to us because that's just not him. That was never him. In fact, he has a great track record of helping players develop in areas that they weren't, because quite selfishly he wanted to get the cream of the crop from all of these countries. He was but he helped hundreds and hundreds of players over the years of all colors and nationalities and etc. So this story kind of relates back to that, because my grandpa was the guy who actually taught Jackie Robinson how to play second base. Jackie was an outstanding athlete and was primarily playing shortstop or outfield, and the Dodgers wanted him to be on the team, and so they had Pee Wee Reese at shortstop. So my grandpa taught him how to play second base in Montreal in 1946, the year before, and then my grandpa was then able to go into the front office, and it worked out great for everybody. Well, fast forward a couple of years, and my dad's in third grade in Brooklyn. He's a third grader in Brooklyn Elementary School there, and it's show and tell, and it's his turn to do the show and tell. Well, he decides he wants to do the show and tell on Jackie Robinson. He's one of his favorite players. So he asked my grandpa while they're at dinner one night, hey, Dad, can you get me a bat or a ball or, a glove or something that I can use as the show part of my show and tell? I already wrote the story about how I'm going to talk about Jackie, and my grandpa's like, sure, what time? And so my dad gives him the details of the classroom and so my dad's up there presenting his, show and tell, and he's telling about his story about Jackie Robinson and how my grandpa was there helping him play, second base. And the teacher says, well, Jimmy, that's great, but where's your, show? And he sees out of the corner of his eye my grandpa in the hallway. So he goes, oh, my dad's here. And he runs over there and opens the door, and in walks Jackie Robinson himself.
Wow.
That's cool.
Wow.
And so, my dad likes to say he was the big man on campus, because they pulled a table into the cafeteria area, and Jackie sat down and signed autographs for the students and the teachers and the principal and took pictures. And I just think that's kind of telling. Why would Jackie had no motivation to do this other than friendship. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I just look at this as to me, this speaks more volumes than anything I could personally say about my grandfather's relationship with Jackie Robinson and other African-American players throughout the years. Pedro Guerrero told me a great story, and it's in the book as well. So I just, that's one of those where I try to share with people, my grandpa knew it wasn't just like they were casual acquaintances. These guys were good friends. So, that's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I got a chance to look at that little thing, the racial thing, and I think he was just baited into that. That was just nonsense to me. I I looked past that. I'm like, you know what? I'm interviewing this guy. I don't care what any of that other nonsense was about. But he was baited, and whoever tried that was doing that for a media thing. That's all that was to me.
It's so funny, and I almost think there's a little bit of guilt going on within the production people. And there's a very nice gentleman, and he reached out to me, and basically wanted to tell his story of what happened, and I could tell he felt terrible about the outcome, and to me that kind of that humanized the situation. And I actually worked in radio for years, doing in the advertising stuff here in Los Angeles, and I worked for the radio station and interviewed Ted Koppel one day, and I'm walking up the stairs and he's walking down, and I'm like, Ted, hi, I'm Jim Campanis, and we stopped and talked for a good 20 minutes, half hour. He gave me his side of the story. What he told me, though, I didn't know, and my grandfather had already passed away, but he told me that my grandfather and him corresponded almost monthly, and it was almost like my grandpa was trying to show that he was doing proactive things to fix what he said, and then Koppel was almost like felt guilty for, I guess, throwing him under the bus, like he said in that interview. So there's a lot of stuff that happened behind the scenes that the public's not aware of, and that's another reason for many of the stories in my book is to shed some light, on like the real situation, Well, I guess it's like anything. I mean, we see just the tip of the iceberg on some of these headlines, and there's so much more below,
Exactly. Tell us a little bit about the book and how we can go about getting it.
So, it's kind of funny. I have to admit, I don't read a whole lot of books myself, and yet I wrote one, and my expectation wasn't very high, and I'm learning so much about this publishing thing. So if you like, what I learned is baseball people, they like autographs. I don't even know if people read the book, but they just wanted my autograph and my dad's autograph in the book. So I set up bornintobaseball.com, and on bornintobaseball.com, my dad and I autograph each book. We have glossy baseball cards that we've created that we sign. We call them our bookmarkers, and my grandpa, there's one of him, so there's one of all three generations. And then I have a bonus CD. I told some stories. I do some production work, and so I produced myself telling about an hour's worth of stories, and we include that as a bonus CD for the holidays. And then I just said, why not? And I put a bunch of stories that I call Born Into Baseball improvised. So you can search me on YouTube, and there's my whole catalog is there. Spotify, my kids think I'm the coolest because they can find me on Spotify, and then it's on iTunes. I mean, you can purchase, through your iTunes store. And so these are the stories. This is the reason the book was written, was because I tell these stories, and so I just was telling the story in my head, and my fingertips were plucking it out, and that's how you write a book, I guess. I don't know, but I have another book ready to roll, and I'm contemplating some additional content, and we're talking about it through the publisher. But this one won't. This one's gonna. I still need to give Born Into Baseball another year of promotion, etc. It'll come out in 2018. The next book that I'm formulating right now. I'm
calling dibs on both books. I need both. I need both of those books. I need the Born Into Baseball, and I need the new one that's coming up.
All right, you got it. And I've been doing some freelance writing stuff, and every now and then my stuff ends up I use a different name, and I just write stuff for mostly lifestyle things. And I've done some stuff in the music business, and I have a different. They give me a name, and I just write their content. But so it's been a lot of fun. The book has opened doors that nobody, that people didn't think I had the ability to do some stuff, which is kind of neat. Kind of proving people, hey, I can write. Wow.
Challenge you, exactly. That's good. And nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being challenged sometimes, just to prove people wrong.
So. That's right.
Anything else you want to tell our youth that's playing baseball?
Yeah, well, okay, and that's yesterday I spent 5 hours with, and I call them studs, and studs is an acronym for superior talent and ultra determination. And I have some really talented kids who really want it. They're all either committed to a college or on the cusp of it, or yesterday I actually worked with a University of Washington Division I player. And yes, we work on their technique a little bit, but these kids have been playing since they were 8, and their technique is what's got them this notoriety and their athleticism. But to my absolute astonishment and amazement, like what I learned through my dad and my grandpa and all of the people around baseball that I was around, they taught me this sort of mental approach to hit. And so if like a certain type of pitcher, like a lefty was pitching, well, I'd have a different mental approach than a hard-throwing right-hander. And it's just, to me, it's common sense. And it was common sense when I learned this about 8 years old. And I'm working with kids like on the way to Stanford with a 4.9 GPA and no mental out like approach. And he's just barely working it out. And his batting average has improved like 180 points. And there's a lot of factors that come into it, and this is why I was saying I'm still formulating the second book. I want to put a lot more of this sort of content. The first book Born into Baseball has content about what I call the mental approach, and some techniques and some things that I used to use called visualization, and also learning how to harness my competitive drive. And all of these things, they took me from my talent level. I really believe that stuff gave me another 15%. Of performance that my talent, you know what I mean, like above what my talent level really was. And that's what I try to do with each kid I'm working is maximize that talent. And to me, isn't that what we want to do in life anyway? Like everybody would want to have be the maximum, you know.
Exactly.
But these kids really want it, you know what I mean? And I know that even sometimes I find myself less motivated in certain areas of life. And these kids are just like I was on the baseball field, like they live it, they breathe it. I mean, I had requests to hit on Christmas Eve, and I'm like, I'm open, man. And they're like, no, my wife said we can't do it, you know. Or, I mean,
that's the boss.
It's that,
that's the
the
boss.
dads and the mom.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah, I have a younger brother that lives in East Hartford, Connecticut. His name is Matt Rondon. Oh, my God, he eats and sleeps baseball all year round. That's all. If he's not coaching girls basketball for East Hartford High, he's coaching baseball all year round. That was one of my loves, too. I played, you know, I caught, I played first base, I played outfield when I was in high school. Got a couple of offers here and there, but I never took it serious like I should have. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the luxury we have out here in California is, you know, although it's a little chilly by our standards, like we could be playing a game right now outside. And a lot of teams, a lot of players, and we have tournaments, and these kids are doing this, you know, starting at a fairly young age, but then they get into these elite teams. And I went to a game to watch one of my students, and there was like the USC coach where I went, like he's there. I'm like, Matt, what are you doing here? He's like, dude, look at all the players here. Like, this is like, I can just come to one game and see like all of these guys who are qualified to play at USC.
Yeah.
And so we have it really lucky, like a hotbed out here. And the averages of players that get drafted and play professionally in our area out here is far higher than the rest of the country. And it's like it's a culture, and you know, any given weekend you can go to one of our nice facilities anywhere in the Southern California area and just see teams lined up ready to play, and it's wonderful, you know. And it's like I said, here we are in December, and I work kids out on December 23rd. You know what I mean? I lined up out the door with other kids and other instructors. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and you know. To me, like I feel like I'm passing stuff on,
right?
You know, just like if you know someone's a master tailor or whatever, you want to pass that knowledge on to the next apprentice or whatever.
So how do people get in touch with you as far as what you're doing on as far as the training goes? What is your information, your contact information for the training?
So it's funny. Everyone who's contacted me has. It's either the first people read the book and they're like, wow, I didn't know you did like stuff, you knew stuff like that. You know, it's like, yeah, I did this my whole life practically. So yeah, you know, and I was a catcher, and so I knew how to judge hits, swings, and like find holes in their swing. And then, you know, as a teacher, you define the hole and you fix it. But everyone's found me either by going to Born Into Baseball. There's a contact me there, bornintobaseball.com. I'm on Facebook, and I have like 5,000 friends, and you and I are friends on Facebook. And so, you know, you PM me to get on this thing, and they could do the same to talk about that.
Okay.
I have a number of videos on my YouTube channel. Well, mostly music videos, but I have on my Facebook channel. I have our Facebook page. I have a whole bunch of videos of some of the kids that I'm working with, so you can kind of see what a stud looks like, you know. And,
right.
And again, these kids are inspiring me and motivating me, and I can't wait up in the morning when we have these weekend workouts and stuff, you know.
Jim, I want to thank you for your time, your inspiration to a lot of young athletes. I appreciate you. I appreciate the time that you've given me. And I want you to have a happy holiday, good New Year, and I'm definitely going to keep in touch with you. I want that Born Into Baseball book.
Yeah,
If I got to fly to California and get it, I want the Born Into Baseball book. I got your autographed baseball sitting right next to me. I'm looking for a frame for the catcher's T-shirt that you sent me, so I can stick it in my office. I got like a wall of fame in here, so I'm trying to add that to my wall of fame. So I appreciate those two things that you sent to me. That means a lot. So I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you for thinking of me for your podcast. It's an honor and a pleasure. It's always fun to share my love of baseball with other people who feel the same way.
Appreciate you. Have a happy holiday, sir. This is UBL TV signing off.